second key thing relationships do is they drive student motivation to learn and to excel. We heard often from students that they were motivated, they really wanted to do well in college, but they also didn't want to disappoint their professors. They didn't want to disappoint their staff mentors, their friends on campus, right? And so relationships in an abstract way can really drive motivation. But there's other much more concrete ways that relationships can drive motivation. And so one example of this is from Samantha Paskovan, a student we interviewed at the University of Washington. She was a senior when we interviewed her. And Samantha went to the University of Washington to study dance and science. And she expected to sort of be balanced in those two things. And she said she really found her home, she called it her family in dance at first, but didn't quite feel like she fit in science and didn't find her home there, actually until earlier in junior year in the first quarter, when she took a class. It was a large class. It wasn't a topic she was super interested in. It was genetics. But the faculty teaching was so engaging that it drove her more deeply into experiential learning. So Amaya's going to read this one.
The teachers in our biology department are really interested in active learning, and I found that type of learning really resonated with me. It's very collaborative, working in small groups and having lots of discussion during lecture. I had one professor in genetics the fall quarter of my junior year who dedicated so much time to his students and was really clear about expectations and just was the most phenomenal teacher I had ever had. At the very end of the quarter, I just walked up to him after the last lecture and said, "Thank you so much for a great quarter. Are you accepting undergraduate research students?"
Thanks, Amaya. Now to preview, because Samantha's going to come back in this session, to preview this, that professor wasn't accepting undergraduate research students, but that professor connected Samantha with another professor who was, and she ended up being deeply involved in undergraduate research. So again, notice how interactive teaching and the kinds of relationships that can grow in a classroom can drive students not just to learn, but to be more engaged with experiential learning. Now, the last quote from me, the last example of this idea of relationships contributing to an inspiring learning is from a student at LaGuardia Community College. And she was connected in a number of ways through peer mentoring, student employment, and just her classes. But her quote pretty much stands by itself. So I'm going to leave Matt to read this one.
I learned to be more self-aware and more confident through peer mentoring and through working with the Student Success Mentors program, especially because everyone in this program pushes me. People here see stuff in me that I don't see myself. When I second guess my ability to do something, my supervisor, Ellen Quish, will say, "Peta, what are you talking about? You're great at that, or you should work on this." When I'm struggling, I remember Ellen told me I'm awesome. So I'm awesome.
Thanks, Matt. And notice, again, so we have a classroom-based experience where relationships not only drive learning in genetics, but drive a student into an undergraduate research experience. And then we have these out-of-class, well, both out and in-class experiences that can help students not just learn particular things in a discipline, but to learn broader things about themselves and their lives.